This week on What Works for Me, Ty's got a serious deer dilemma in Texas. Texas typically gets its rain in September and October, which is perfect for planting fall food plots like Texas Drop. One good rain can get them established. If you've got a real high deer density like Ty does, you've got to keep them off those plots till they establish a little bit. So Ty's done it with some creative fencing. There's products out there. We make one called Plot Protector that's a ribbon that goes around the tape and it smells offensive to deer. But if you can keep the deer out of these plots for just a couple of weeks and let them get 4 or 5 inches of growth and establish some roots, then the plot can make it. So let's watch how Ty handles this.
Central Texas means high deer densities, and I'm talking about a deer to 3 to 5 acres. Here on our place, we're about a deer to 5 acres, and how do we know that? Spotlight counts. We do a spotlight census each fall to try to determine how many does and bucks we're going to harvest off of this piece of property. Don't forget to always let your game warden know. We actually count deer at night using the aid of a spotlight. We drive a preset route and we do them 3 times, and actually all you do is count deer, bucks, does, and fawns. After you tally up your bucks, does, and fawns, you figure out how long your line is, you extrapolate that into the acres of visibility, and then extrapolate that into the size of the ranch. We use that information to make a harvest recommendation, and on this particular case, we usually kill about 15 to 25 does a year on our place. The first major problem in Texas is just getting enough moisture to grow your plots.
We talk about planting food plots with high deer densities and erratic rainfall. We're not just talking drought, we're talking floods. This spring and summer, Texas had tremendous amounts of rain, so as a result, my food plot this summer grew a lot of weeds. So it took us a while. We had to shred it first, we had to disc it multiple times. It took us a while to get it finished, and we still have tons of forage here that's dead and drying on top. Makes it tough to plant. So try to get rid of this stuff when we come across it. We're seeding it right now and keep our fingers crossed for some more rain.
Then you've got the second problem, really high deer densities, and they just wipe out your food plot. What worked for me on our place was an old pecan orchard. You know, some years ago, before we had the place, somebody else had the idea of trying to keep deer away from what they were trying to grow, and that was pecan trees. Now that the pecan orchard is pretty much defunct, I've used it as our main food plot because I can allow the seedlings to grow up and mature before the deer just completely nip them off.
Restaurants open for business here in Central Texas. Just opening up the BioLogic / pea patch. When I'm not here, I keep it closed up. That way it'll be nice and huntable when we get here.
You know, every time we harvest a deer off those food plots, it's one less deer competing with my bucks for forage. It's also one less deer competing with all the hard work I've put in, and that's what works for me here in Central Texas.